Hi everyone, welcome to the brand new series named Cut Till Kept, where we explore the different stages of production and talk about what was cut from the show, animation, music, art, voice, script-wise until it was kept. For episodes 1 and 2, I'll also be comparing the original unvoiced, disconnected two-parter of the missing children's incident from 2024. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Episode 1's scripting phase is quite a rocky one. A lot had to be cut in the earlier scripting phases because we just didn't have the staff required to realize the original episode 1's vision. Starting with the opening. The original opening sequence was supposed to be much longer. It starts at Freddy's the night before the opening day, and we see George and Iz's final moments from the murder tape videos. It shows them working on Foxy before getting ambushed by Spring Bonnie and getting murdered, which led into an extended version of the news report seen later in the morning at the Afton's household about the disappearance of the technicians. Although most of the opening is still intact from the original draft, a lot of the scenes from previous drafts were cut, including the original introduction to the missing kids. In the first and second draft, there was a scene between the cold open and news reports where we see the missing children having a sleepover at Fritz's house. Fritz, Cassidy, and Charlie are having a pillow fight while Susie and Jeremy have a tea party with some stuffed animals, while Gabriel is reading a book in the corner of the room. Susie notices Gabriel being alone and approaches him, then invites him to join her and Jeremy. Gabriel politely declines, but with the help of Susie's puppy eyes, she convinces him to join the tea party. Meanwhile, Charlie is beating the cheesy kableezy out of Fritz and Cassidy with their pillows. Meanwhile, Charlie is beating the crap out of Fritz and Cassidy with its other pillows. This is also the point where Charlie invites all of them to come with her to the grand opening of her father's new restaurant. This scene is also kept in a third draft with minor changes, like Gabriel teaching Susie's dog Fetch and Paw. However, due to pacing issues and lack of animators, this scene was cut from the final draft. Another thing added in the third draft is in the parking lot of Freddy's at the day of the opening is the scene between the news reporter and the cameraman. They have an exchange of dialogue about how they can paint the opening in a bad light or get some dirt on Henry or William to boost viewership. Also cut from this scene is an introductory sequence of Mark, Simon, and Jeremy Fitzgerald. They're at a band practice and waiting for Michael to arrive, but he never shows up. Jeremy knows where he could be and sets out to find him at the new restaurant, leading into that little scene of Michael and Jeremy later in the episode. Another cut introduction is that of Sheriff Buster, the mayor, and Deputy Isabel having a dispute about the recent disappearance of Sammy Emily and the two technicians. This scene never even made it past the second draft due to the lack of animators. A few smaller sequences like seeing the FNAF band perform were cut, although some remnants remain in the intro. This also includes seeing Cassidy and Fritz trying to compete in the arcade game. These scenes were reduced to still frames in the final cut. The last noteworthy thing being cut from the drafts is Evan's nightmare sequence during the hide-and-seek game. He hides with Elizabeth in the back rooms of the building. Cassidy only finds Elizabeth and doesn't spot Evan, so they leave him behind to find the rest. Evan is left alone with the spare Fredbear suit and starts to hallucinate the empty suit moving every time he looks away, so he runs away screaming. Upon running to the hall, he sees William as Spring Bonnie slowly disappearing into the hallway, which scares him even more, and he runs back to the dining room. This is where Jeremy stumbles onto him while Evan looks like he's seen a ghost. Besides that, most of the episodes stay the same, with some dialogue being cut. On some occasions, during the episode, you can hear where the dialogue is cut.
I'm sorry, Dad.
You're always tired, Evan. I don't know, he seems really annoyed with everyone today. It feels different, he's acting very weird.
Episode 1 could have looked and sounded very different compared to the final product. About 3 roles have been recasted during the production. The original voice actors for William and Michael were switched. This became an issue during the editing because Michael's original voice was a lot deeper than William's original one, so they got switched around. Another recast is Elizabeth's original voice, originally also voiced by Cassidy and Fritz voice actor.
Daddy, who will look after us when you're gone?
A few scenes also had different takes, like the exchange between Henry and William at the end of the episode. That exchange could have been much more dramatic than it ended up being. This original dialogue was cut due to it sounding too much like a toxic boyfriend ASMR audio. Damn. Is that all you have to say? I'm calling the police.
You're not going to tell the police shit.
How could I not? You're gonna kill kids.
Listen here, asshole. If you don't keep your mouth shut, I'll cut your throat open like the little bitch you are.
Are you trying to square up with me, good sir? I don't recall that being in the script, director. Ref, get this man, please. Surprisingly enough, not a lot of animation was cut from this episode. Almost everything that was made was used in the finished product. Some music had to be unfortunately cut, with nothing more than demos existing. The only completed track that was cut was Backstage Horrors by Real DJ for the nightmare sequence. The episode 1 of 2024 opens up at the pizzeria, where all the missing kids are hanging out together and teasing each other until someone suggests playing a game of hide and seek. Meanwhile, Henry and William are arguing over the recent modifications to the Funtime animatronics, where William blackmails Henry to stay quiet. Evan sees a Spring Bonnie suit walking around and warns the others about it. One of the head chefs bumps into Spring Bonnie and nearly sets off the mechanism, which really pisses off William. And that, with the argument, pushes him over the edge and makes him kill the head chef. Episode 1 of 2026, meanwhile, opens up with a news report about the recent opening of Freddy Fazbear's, before meeting the Aftons in a chaotic breakfast scene. We meet up with them at the opening ceremony and get introduced to the missing children before the final speech is delivered by Henry. The MCs, missing children if you didn't get that, decide to play hide and seek, and Susie almost has a close encounter with Spring Bonnie, nearly getting her caught until Cassidy swoops in unintentionally. Meanwhile, Henry finds a blueprint for one of the fun times and gets into an argument with William about it, which ends up with William threatening Henry. In episode 2 of the 2024 version, there's a comparable scene to the original breakfast scene, with Michael arguing with Evan about his nightmares. And with that, that's everything covering episode 1's production. I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe convinced you to check out the pilot if you haven't yet. It's a really fun watch while we go through the last stages of episode 2's auditions. And I hope you guys have a nice day. Oh shit.